In this video tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to use the Scripted Simulation Window tool for AnimatLab. This tool allows you to build multiple paths for your camera to follow so that you can produce professional looking videos. So I went ahead and created a basic project and I've downloaded some meshes. We're going to create a really simple scene. It's just visual. There's going to be no dynamics within this particular tutorial right now. It's just something that we can fly through and look at. So basically we're going to be creating a beach scene. So let's go ahead and start by adding a structure. We add a plane. Okay, let's add sand to it. And let's change the size. Do 30. Okay, and as you can see, that kind of smeared our sand out. So we're going to go ahead and tile it. So we're going to do 25. There we go. Now our sand's nice and sandy. Okay. Now let's go ahead and right click on that and add a tree. So click a mesh and we're just going to click graphics object. So this is going to be purely visual. It's going to be a prop basically. So there's going to be no collisions, no dynamics, no nothing for this. It's just going to be something shown in the scene. So coconut tree. Okay, let's go ahead and add a second one. Oops. Okay, now let's add a hammock. Okay. And then finally, let's go ahead and add a hut. Okay, this hut's a little smaller than I like. Just a little. There we go. So let's go ahead and scale it up just a bit. There we go. I'd like to move it a little bit, but it's in the way of the dragger now, so I'm going to resize the dragger so I can get to it. Okay. Okay, that's good. Looks like the hut's just slightly above the ground. There we go. Let's go ahead and save this. Now, let's go ahead and add our scripted simulation window. To do that, let's right click down here, go to Add Data Tools, and we can either get to it like that, or we can hit this and that. Okay, that opens up a new window. For us. Okay, so I'm gonna start it inside the toilet. This is good. Let's call this sim window. And you notice we have two now. We have let's call it. Okay, so this is the original one that we were looking at. It's got no tracking on, so if we were tracking the structure 1 body now. This is the body plan editor one that we opened up, and then this is the scripted simulation window. You can actually see these side by side if we wanted to. Let's see our scene from different views. I'm going to go ahead and put those back because we don't really need that right now. Okay, so we've got our scripted simulation window, and let's see, structure 1. I didn't actually name anything, did I? What are these? This is tree 1. This is tree 2. This is the hammock. This is the hut. Now we know what it is we're looking at here. Okay, let's make it look at structure 1, which actually let's just call that ground. We're looking at the ground, and we're going to make it stare at the hammock. So it's looking right there. So we're like in a bedroom right now. We're trying to fly. Just a little lower. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a path. So we're going to add a camera path, and starts at 0. So we'll just start there. Now we've got to tell it again for this particular. So what this one was doing was saying, and actually, why don't we'll go ahead and this one was saying was when the simulation starts, we're going to start looking at the ground and the hammock at this particular position. And we're going to change this here in a second. So what we'll actually do is change the start time to 2. Okay, so at 2 seconds it's going to start following this path. And we want it to also look at the ground and the hammock. Now we could have had it look at anything else. We could have started looking at something and then switch looking at something else starting at 2 seconds and follow that. So a given path is only going to follow one particular part through its path. If you have to have multiple things you want to look at, you need multiple paths, and you've got to connect them together. So now that we've got a path and we know when it's going to start and what it's going to look at, let's go ahead and add a waypoint. Okay, and let's go ahead and so we're going to copy this position and use this for the starting position of our window. Okay, let's save that. So this will be where we start, and then this will be where the path starts. So they'll be the same thing, so there won't be any discontinuities there. Okay, so now we've got this one. Let's move forward just a little bit. Add another one. You notice that each time I'm hitting this button, we're getting a new waypoint added here with another number on it. You can see the red line. This is our path. We'll look at that a little bit later. Right now we want to keep following along with our camera of how we want it to move. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to go from the hut, we're going to fly around the trees, over the hammock, and fly up in the air, and then kind of look at the hammock from outside. Let's go ahead and save that. Let's just see what it looks like when we play it. Whoa, that was way too fast. Let's slow that down. Let's switch from fast as possible to match physics time step. And let's try that again. It's actually not bad by itself. Okay. Now one thing we can do for each of these waypoints, you can see there's a couple of different ways of setting them. So when it's created, it just gives a time span of 1 second between each waypoint. So one thing you may have noticed is that we can set the distance of this based on when we click it. So 1 second could have a velocity of 0.6 meters per second or 0.852 meters per second. So you're not going to have a consistent velocity between each segment that way. So one thing you probably want to do is just go back and set the velocity. Let's go with 1. And you'll notice that as I'm doing each of these, it's recalculating the time span necessary for that particular one to make it 1 second, or to make it 1 meter per second. Okay. And your last one, you don't actually have a time span or velocity, it's the ending point, so you can't really set that one. If you add more waypoints, it won't be your last one anymore, and you can set those. Okay, let's save this, and let's look at what this one looks like. Okay, this time we're getting a consistent velocity the whole way. It's really fast, though. Probably we want to slow that down. Okay. So now let's just go ahead and demonstrate just a little bit. Let's say this last point isn't where I really want it. So let's go ahead and reposition it. I want it a little higher, maybe a little lower to the ground. 25. So you can see we moved it down. And let's move it a little closer in. Let's go with -2. Okay. So now you can see we moved it a little further in. So you can move any of these points that you want to reposition this after. So basically the initial path, we did a pretty good job this time of getting what we want, but the initial path is just to get your waypoints, and then you can position them wherever you want to refine the motion of the camera. Okay, now let's go ahead and demonstrate. We're going to add, let's fly through it one more time. Okay. Now let's stop it. So now we're at the position of where it ended. So what we want to go ahead and do now is we're going to create a second path. And let's name these so that they're in order. Path 1. Path 2. Okay. So you see path 1 is starting at 2 seconds, but then path 2 is starting at 16.49. So basically it creates it at the end of this particular one. So actually let's put a little pause in there. Let's make it 17, 18. Okay, so now it's going to start at 18. So now this time, let's make it look at ground and the hut. Okay. So then we're going to add waypoint here. Okay. So now you can see we've got different paths. Of course, it's really hard to tell which path is which. So let's go ahead and change the color. So we've got the red path that's our first path, and our blue path is our second one. One thing, let's go ahead and change this to let's watch it this time. Okay, we pause. And there we go. Okay. Just a couple of little things left to kind of show. One thing you can do, there's visibility. So let's say, for instance, we don't want this path to be visible at all, even in our editor. We can turn that off, but you can see we can still see the second line. So let's say we want it to be visible in the editor, but not visible in the simulation. Then you set the visible to true and visible in simulation to false. So if we were to change this to true, and change this to true, and if we were to rerun the simulation, we can see the path in the simulation now. That's somewhat useful for debugging it while you're actually building the simulation. You probably don't want that in there when you're actually running it, though, because it obviously looks weird. So let's go ahead and stop that and reset that to false. False. And there it's gone. Okay, so this is how you create a scripted simulation window and build camera paths for your simulation so you can produce professional looking videos within AnimatLab 2.0. I hope this has been helpful. You can download the software for free and download this simulation at the Animat Warehouse or at the download section on AnimatLab. Good luck.